Season 1 of Star Wars Hunters drawing to a close in the next week or so, you may be wondering what actually happens to your ranking, and how does where you end impact where you start next season, or is it just a completely clean slate? So in today's video I'm going to be talking a little bit about that. There isn't really too much to go over, so I can't imagine it'll be too long, but before I do get into it, make sure you are subscribed to the channel to stay fully up to date with all things Star Wars Hunters. So I guess the only real question that needs answering is, when this season ends, what happens at the beginning of Season 2? Will it be a completely fresh start where everyone has to go back to Bronzium or not? And the answer to that is really simple, because it ultimately depends on where you finish. So if you finish the season in Chromium or Erodium, you very likely will have to start again in the Bronzium tiers. However, if you do finish in Kyber 1, which is where I'm sat at the moment, I couldn't tell you where exactly I will have to start, but it probably will be somewhere in Erodium, I think, so the gold tiers, or potentially the very end of Chromium. So after playing one ranked game, I'll instantly be able to get a bunch of the rewards. So that is essentially all you need to know. It won't be a complete refresh, but for some of you it may well be, depending on where you're positioned. But the higher up the rank you are at the end of this season, the higher up you'll start at the beginning of the next season. So it is pretty simple, but I suppose the question now is, why does that happen? My assumption is due to matchmaking, although sometimes the matchmaking's been a little bit iffy, I will say, but I think it ultimately does depend on what you're doing, whether you're solo queuing or whether you're in a team with a mixed bag of ranks. It can all have a pretty big impact on the matchmaking, but ultimately for me it hasn't been too bad this season, I'd say. So the reason, let's say, is if I end on Kyber 1 and start the next season in Erodium 2, let's say, the reason it's likely doing that is that in an ideal world I shouldn't then be match-made with people in Bronzium 1 or Bronzium 3, because I'm essentially a much higher rank than that. But then of course it gives me time throughout the season to be able to actually progress up the tiers. So the grind is still very much going to be there for me, which I'm really excited to be able to do, whilst hopefully not destroying teams in Bronzium 3. Now I know I'm not the best player by any means, but if you've been watching any of my streams, you'll have known that most of the time I am playing in a full stack squad with viewers on these streams. Sometimes it's very much been a mixed bag, but we do tend to win a lot of games. So to put a 4 stack against Bronzium 3 players at the beginning of a season would be very harsh. So hopefully that is not going to happen due to this segmentation at the beginning of each season by pushing us higher, because we ended higher at the end of the first season. Now for those of you who played soft launch, you may have gotten to Kyber 1 as well, so you may be wondering why on earth you started at Bronzium 3 at the beginning of this first season. That's simply because the game actually finally fully launched, so it's better just to essentially fresh start everyone in that case regarding ranked. And because even if you did get put into like Erodium 2 at the beginning of this first season, you'd be Erodium 2 fighting everyone in Bronzium 3, because no one's obviously played the game yet, so it just wouldn't really have made a whole lot of sense. But now that the game is out and one season in, you shouldn't see any fresh starts happening anymore. Now regarding the ranked rewards, I doubt they will come back in any way. The fact that this game is global now means that I'd find it very hard to see any ranked reward coming back, so it's definitely best to try and get to Kyber 1 even if you are struggling. And if you are someone who struggles with ranked, I do stream this game on a fairly regular basis, at least 2 to 3 times a week, and my goal of those streams is always to try and help people get as close to Kyber 1 as possible. It may not always happen, but I will always do my best. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel and join those streams when you see me live, and hopefully we will help you get up the ranks. I'm really excited to see what Season 2 brings for us, so I'll have some videos out on that as soon as possible. I am going to be away next week though for most of the week, so unfortunately I probably won't be able to cover too much about the build up for the season, but certainly at the launch of the season I will be there and streaming, so make sure you don't miss out on any of that. But that is it from me today. Hopefully you found this video useful. Thank you all very much for watching. May the force be with you always.